Welcome to this forum for the primary candidates of District 25 of the Portage County Board of Supervisors. My name is Joe Sizer. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of the Stevens Point area, and I will serve as the moderator for this forum. County Board Supervisors earn $50 for each county board meeting and $45 for each committee meeting, with a maximum of $90 for 2 or more meetings in one day. On average, each supervisor earns $3,500 per year, and the chair earns $20,000. The total pay for the county board supervisors in 2017 was $83,000 and $325. The supervisors are responsible for expenses in the county totaling $107 million. In this forum, each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to make an opening and then at the end a closing statement, and 2 minutes to answer questions in between. And I certainly will repeat the question if requested. The 3 candidates for District 25 are Ann Abbott, Robert Lord, and the incumbent, Jim Stroik. So we will begin the opening statement with Jim Stroik. Jim?
Well, thank you. Thanks for everybody for being here tonight. My official name is James Stroik, and I have lived in the town of Elbin all my life. I grew up there. I went to school in Rothschild. I'm married. I have 3 adult kids. I have 3 adult, or not adult, but I have 3 grandkids. So I'm still residing in the district that I'm serving. Prior to getting on county board, I was on the Rothschild School Board for 21 years. I was served as its president, treasurer, clerk throughout the years on my years on the Rothschild School Board. We had 3 major building projects at the time when I was there. I also was involved in a land acquisition that expanded our playground and our practice facilities for our students. As of currently, I am on the county board. I was first appointed in '97 when my father passed away, and I was interviewed by Clem Hintz and Roger Richaw. Some of you might not know some of those names, but those names are dear to me. I have been on most of the committees that I have been serving on for a number of years. HR for almost 20 years, and I've been on highway for about the same amount. I'm currently on the highway, and I'm on the public safety. I'm also on the airport board, part of risk management, and I'm a part of the executive ops. So most of the committees, if you're not aware of, are appointed by the executive ops committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Ann Abbott.
Well, I'm Ann Abbott, and I grew up in East Tennessee. And being a rural kid, I learned to work fast and hard. I learned to work early. I have a wide array of experience. I've traveled. I've lived in a log cabin in West Virginia and taught school at Marshall University. I raised my first hunting dog in New York City from the 17th floor of a high-rise. So I returned to rural America intentionally in 1987. I've lived in District 25 for over 20 years. My education and career is focused on prevention, rehabilitation, healthcare, teaching, behavior change, and keeping people well. I am now retired from my career as professor of health promotion and wellness at the University of Stevens Point. I continue to work as a consultant, provide wellness information via Abbott Solutions directly to employers, consumers, educators, health coaches, and benefit managers. My community service includes being a health advocate for my friends and family, and most recently, I've been advocating for good, clean water.
Thank you. Robert Lord.
Good evening, and awesome turnout. I'm glad that you all came tonight. This is a really important process. I realize that the county board has 25 members and that each member can only do so much. But any group of people can function better if they use good process. What I've seen from the meetings that I've attended is very good people, really good, dedicated people, but not always following the best process for getting things done. In my career, 27 years, I facilitated decision-making and problem-solving and conflict resolution for federal government agencies, state government, private sector, manufacturing, paper mills, and any number of other kinds of organizations. And they all had one thing in common. If they didn't have good strategy and follow good decision-making protocol, they didn't get much done. And that's why they would hire me. That's the one thing I'd like to contribute to the county board, is to make sure that the committees operate to the best of their ability.
Thank you. Now we'll go to the first question. This will be for 2 minutes. And the first person to answer is going to be Ann Abbott. What are the characteristics of District 25, and how are you the best candidate to address the district's needs?
Repeat it one more time.
What are the characteristics of District 25, and how are you the best candidate to address the district's needs?
The characteristic is we have 3 kind of divisional places. We have the town of Albin and the village of Roshaw. They're very rural. We have a lot of farmers, and we have a lot of other people. We have lake owners, and we have citizens, and we have big farmers and little farmers. And mostly we have neighbors. New Hope is the next one. That's where I preside, and where we got the original concept of we should clean up our water. And we have good neighbors. We vote. Almost all of us vote, which is really important. And it's a great place to live. It has a high quality of life. It has beautiful artists mixed in with rural country, big farms, little farms, and just lake owners and regular old citizens, and people who are rural America, which I really identify with. Then we have Amherst Ward 2. You know, we're known for crazy things in Amherst. So I'll just leave that to Jim McKnight, wherever he is. He writes frequently about what goes on in our neighborhood. It has the best of all things. We have a pretty good brewery for Friday nights. And it's a great place to live and raise kids. So I love this place. I came here because of the National Wellness Institute and because of Stevens Point. It was a place that not only talked about wellness, but it actually had the culture to support it. It's a very high place to live in the sense of quality of life. We have incredible rivers and streams. We have incredible people. We have an incredible history here to provide water for our people and keep it clean.
Next, Robert Lord.
Thank you. Yeah, District 25, town of New Hope. I moved there about 30 years ago. And one of the first things that I was faced with was a crisis of groundwater. People's wells were poisoned with atrazine. Some of our neighbors had extremely high levels of atrazine in their well water. Well, what I saw happen in the town of New Hope is a huge community effort to address that issue. People showed up for meetings, people got involved, and I was really impressed. It's an extremely close and very functional community with a lot of people who have high levels of expertise, and so the people, number one. The environment, we've got wonderful bicycling roads and hiking trails and rivers and lakes for boating and fishing, and we're incredibly fortunate. So I think putting those things together, the people who have lived in District 25 over the years have had the foresight to preserve and protect those natural resources that we all really enjoy. So the people and the place, and then above all, the industry. I think we've got great diversity, lots of different kinds of businesses, and a lot of potential for the future.
Thank you. Jim Stroik.
I'll begin by stressing that I do work for the Wisconsin Potato and Vegetable Growers, which is probably your biggest enemy in the room, probably at most opinions. I enjoy my work. I am the coordinator with the Wisconsin Spudmobile, so I'm the man that's poised to go to schools to teach them where their food is coming from, and I take great pride in that. I live in a district that I grew up on. The farmstead where I grew up with 9 brothers and sisters is just a quarter mile away, and I appreciate the clean water that I've been given and still maintain that we will overlook when I'm long gone. I'm most proud of our school district in the district. Rochelle School District is probably the deep purpose of why I did stay in the area. I'm very proud of all my kids having gone through the Rochelle school system. Each one of them was given their diploma by myself, which I cherished each one of them. And that is probably why I'll probably die out of the house I'm living right now. Our goals as a community are directed more in trying to retain the young that we have out there. The size of our families are shrinking. I came from a big family. I don't expect all of our kids to stay around, but I'd appreciate if they take it as an example to stay. I hope we have enough to offer them to keep them here, which is a big driver of why we have to look at trying to retain our young individuals. I know we're not blessed with a lot of the IT things that are driving it out of our district, but I would hope that we would like to retain them as such. One of the missions that I've been on since I've been on here, I was involved in setting up Crossroads Commons. I was involved with that in the initial phase of that project, and that's one of the projects I hold dear to my heart. I was one that met out with the Soiks on that property, and that's one of the projects that I think Portage County can be proud of. Thank you.
The next question will begin with Robert Lord. Marathon County has deposits of gold and other minerals that are likely to attract interest of mining companies. These deposits are located in eastern Marathon County near the headwaters of the Plover River. We have until June to enact our own regulations on mining. Do you feel this is a necessary step in case the Plover River would become contaminated?
As a county, we absolutely have to be proactive and involved in this issue. The state certainly is the DNR is the body that regulates mining, but local government is often a critical piece of informing the DNR on what's really going on. They can't inspect everything, and so as a county, we can ensure that proper testing is done. We can make it requirements for adequate testing, for test wells, for water testing in the Plover River and other places. We can ensure that the mining industry, if they do come into this area, understand that someone's watching. And having county ordinances that inform the private industry, it helps them to do the job with the environment in mind, knowing that to some extent it's a public-private partnership. Our resources are at stake, and the mining company has to understand that they're a part of that process.
Thank you. Next, James Stroik.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. Marathon County has deposits of gold and other minerals that are likely to attract interest of mining companies. These deposits are located in eastern Marathon County near the headwaters of the Plover River. We have, as a county, until June to enact our own regulations on mining. Do you feel this is a necessary step in case the Plover River becomes contaminated?
Well, at best, I think we have to try to look at all the what-ifs. The what-ifs are the unknowns that anybody sitting here cannot control. I think in best regards, if guidelines are set up properly by the DNR, and I know there is some oversight by DATCAP that oversees some of those types of practices that do go on. So you would hope that between some of the agencies that are out there on a daily basis do have the powers and the oversight to oversee some of these projects that are coming into the area. Marathon is blessed in almost two different facets. They're the #1 producer of ginseng in the world. So their commodities are based above ground, and I know the pressure right now is to get to the mining phase of but they can't move forward with that type of project because knowing that the net outcome is very slim. Their profit margins aren't going to be there. That's my own opinion, and I hope that they would realize it, and the county probably does realize it, that they're going to go with the resources that they know that they can control. Mining counties, in their own terms, cannot control or regulate them. We rely on the DNR in all types and forms. They're getting their budgets cuts, their staffing cuts, and I don't know if that's the best option for us, is to have the DNR behind the whole aspect of affording any type of mining in our area. I really don't.
Thank you. Ann Abbott.
Well, the first thing I would do is I would figure out exactly if we have any rights at all. I know in the water, we've learned from the DNR, and we've learned that we can't supersede the state regulations nor the federal. And so it makes it harder to do something about it. And I would have to go on a research venture here because I tend to dig pretty deep. And I would need more time to do that. I think that definitely the answer is yes, we should. And I think that we've got to look upstream all the time of what's coming at us. We have many of the same problems in what gets dumped back into the river after municipal waste. You know, we can't control any prescriptions. We can't control how herbicides react underneath the water. We don't have control on a lot of those things yet. But there are federal standards for almost every one of them. How many of you have ever been in a mine? 1, 2, 3. Well, I spent time in West Virginia, and I've seen a mine in Colorado. Thank God to Alan Haney, because he drugged me out there. But you know, it would make everybody have a much different perspective if you visited a mine. When I fly over East Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina, you can see the damage of long term. Mountains are destroyed. There's no rehabilitation there. You can see that in Custer to some degree, okay? Sand mining that we have here. So you have to have some kind of restorative process in place to take care of this. It can't be just do you have it or don't you have it. And it's a huge, complex industry to be involved in. So I would need more investigation. I would welcome the chance to dig further, deeper, and longer. Thank you.
The next question is going to be first to Jim Stroik. In October 2017, county supervisors, by a 2/3 majority, voted to move ahead with remodeling the county courthouse and construct a new 2-story courthouse on land adjacent to the annex. Do you support this decision, and how will the county pay for this?
I was one that did support the decision. The aspect of remodeling our current jail was foremost on that item. Our original courthouse was built in the early 1950s, so it has all the original, most of the HVAC, all the existing windows. It needs some love, and that's why we went forward with putting some money in, not only on the roof. Internally, we have to do some asbestos abatement. So there is a lot of updates that do need to be taken into place. Foremost in that whole process has been involved with, and some of it, a higher level of security for our employees and as well as our courthouse area, because the courthouse right now is secured, but it's not to the level that I think everybody sitting here would want to sit in on a court proceeding, because we live in a whole different atmosphere now. Everybody has their own agendas, and what happens in our schools, we don't want to happen in our courthouse, but we do need to initiate some love going into our courthouse, and that's why there were some that wanted to see our courthouse just abandoned, and I didn't want to see that happen. Too much has gone into our current courthouse to sustain us just pulling out, because most of that, if you aren't aware of, has been and is from the Ellis area, and that's why Ellis Stone is duly named after that. And 75% of that building was mined locally, so that's kind of unique. And I think it's a historical piece, and I'm glad that we are staying with it, and we are upgrading our courts, and we are adding another courtroom. We currently have 2, 3 if you want to call it that way, but they do need some major security issues to be looked at. Thank you.
Ann Abbott.
I'm actually glad to hear that we're moving ahead and taking some risk and figuring out how to fix things. So much of this year for me being closer to the county because of working with water, I think that we're hesitant to make decisions. When we're hesitant to make good decisions, we prolong the problem. It's like your kids. If there's not consequences, right, you don't correct anything. And if there's not, so you can't go on forever. You know that in your kitchen budget, and you know it in your own home budget. I've run a small business. It's very difficult to understand what costs are until it's your money that's in that business. I'm much more frugal than most people because of that. I've handled budgets up to $500,000 to nothing. I've gotten something out of nothing to make this happen, okay? So that's part of promotion. It's part of educating people. It's also part of taking action. That comes from the collaborative process where you bring everybody into the puzzle. I'm a facilitator in collaborative learning and collaboration of people. It's not the person's problem or the difference in the citizens' problems. It's our problem. Just like nitrates in New Hope, we looked at all our issues. We had everybody at the table. We had 7 facilitators there. And what we found is the issue was nitrates. It wasn't the people next door. And I think you have to work at that in any process you do. You've got to look at stakeholders. You've got to know how collaboration means everybody's equal, which is a hard one to remember.
Thank you. Robert Lord.
Excuse me. I'm really supportive of the decisions that were made. Whenever it comes to spending money, there's going to be a process that a municipality has to go through. There are going to be folks that just don't want to spend money. But then when you start looking at the merits of the issue, at security, at what would it cost if you did nothing, then you can start bringing people on board and eventually come to a point where people are willing to make a decision, even if that decision means spending some money. I think that's what happened here in Portage County, and I think they did a pretty good job on this one. So I'm glad to see, like you said, moving forward and really looking at the merits of the issue and letting the real important issues matter in terms of the decision making.
Thank you. The next question will start with Ann Abbott, and here it is. Will you support the water quality ordinance that the town of New Hope citizens brought to the Groundwater Citizens Advisory Committee? This is an audience question.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, I don't know how many of you know about what came forward, but it's been a pretty incredible thing of working with citizens. We looked at this we started on Sunset Lake, and it started because I kept looking at the nitrates around my own lake, and I looked at the map, and it was totally red spots, and I'm like, holy crap, where is this coming from? You know, and we started with the little lake association. We decided to make it bigger, so we included Onland Lake and Sunset Lake, and it started with a flip chart with things on it, and I'd stand at the beach and I'd teach, right? And there were a lot of people there. I had to drag some people to the maps. They wanted to have their potluck first, of course. But it really resulted in a neighborhood action. And as we moved through the Portage, through New Hope, they said, you know, this is much too bigger for us, but they gave us the authority to move to Portage County. And so they said, take it to Portage County. And the reason I got into this was George Kraft. He said, when are you going to get those hippies started out there? We need their help, okay? And we did. I mean, we got them started through pure involvement of educating people on what's on your corner. Is it something we need to look at, or is it really rumor? Okay? I spend a lot of time with rumors. I go to other people to get information. Every time I hear a rumor, I go to my farmers, I go to my citizens, I go to the lake group. I look it up myself in the DNR and track it down. Have you ever tried to find something in the DNR? It's impossible, okay? We've combined with other groups that are interested in this. They keep up with the legislative. They keep up with real-time data. And we have real-time data. Real-time data to me in my field is huge. I got to stop.
Good job. Next, who's next? Is it Robert Lord?
I guess I'm next.
I guess you're next.
First and foremost, we have to apply the science that we have. We're so fortunate between the USGS and university. A lot of information has been collected. There's been some great research projects in Portage County. The resolution is a good start, but there are way bigger resource issues than just nitrates in Portage County. Water level, you know, whether or not we're going to be stealing water from our lakes and streams through high-capacity well pumping is a huge issue. You know, Wolf Lake has dropped significantly in level to a point where, you know, we used to go swimming there, right? You did when you were a kid. Well, not very many people do that anymore. It's choked with weeds. Water level dropped. The same thing could happen to Sunset Lake if high-capacity wells are allowed to be put in unchecked. And the state isn't doing a lot about that. So, yes, the resolution is going to be really important for nitrates, but we have to go a lot farther. There's many other issues to address. And our county board has to be really involved in this. The citizens can't be the only ones pushing it. I think we've got a lot of citizen involvement, thanks to Ann and a lot of other really good people, but the county board then has to take that information and act.
Thank you. Jim Stroik.
You're waiting for that, aren't you? I work with an industry that is very reliant on our water and our water resource, and they do look at the nitrates, and it's a constant. Our main objective is to sustain an industry that not only thrives, but will be there for years to come. We want to pass along our farms to the next generation. We don't want to drain the lakes. We want to maintain levels of lakes that are doable not only for recreation, but also for our livelihood. The segment of ag in Portage County is shrinking at a dramatic stage. It's dropping at a faster level than people want to admit. And one of them is, of course, some of the regulation. You do need the regulation. DNR, they do have the responsibility of enforcing that. The lifeline for ag is water. Central Sands, Portage County is the #1 driver. If you look on the Portage County logo, we've got the university, we've got the mining, we've got the paper, and we've got ag, and it's built in on our symbol. Ag is crucial to the Central Sands area, not only for us, but we determined that we'd like to pass that along to the next generation, is our hope, and that is what I would hope would happen. The water issue is going to be near to me in a lot of aspects because I think it's going to be the lifeline that keeps Portage County in the forefront of where we rank. Ranking may not mean everything to you, but it is a major driver that keeps Portage County as being the #1 when everybody has concerns. They always look at Portage County because there's almost a lot of interaction between the forces that don't want it and the forces that do want it. So I think we have to keep it in mind that agriculture has to exist, and it will exist with some of the cooperation between the citizens.
Thank you. The next question will go first to Robert Lord. Within the constraints imposed by the state, identify critical services which absolutely must be maintained by the county. What experience do you bring to spend and use our taxes wisely?
Yeah, good question. So critical service, vital services, EMS, of course, but I also believe that the healthcare center is in that group. While we perhaps can scale back some of those services, I would not support eliminating them altogether. So when it comes to vital and critical services, sometimes the hard choice has to be to raise more money. And nobody likes taxes. Levies are not, our favorite way to approach things. But to have areas of the county where EMS service can take over 40 minutes before an emergency can be addressed, it is unacceptable. So with vital services, critical services to the health and welfare of the citizens of our county, we've got to make some of the tough decisions. But we have to be very strategic. We have to think long-term. Through long-term planning, we can save money, maximize our resources, and through strategic planning, we can pull resources from places where perhaps we haven't looked before. There might be some creative solutions if people can put their heads together in a collaborative process. We might have some avenues that we haven't tried. So I trust in the expertise of the people in the county. If we can tap into some of that, we can probably find viable solutions to a lot of our problems.
Very good. Ann Abbott.
Would you repeat the question?
Yes. Within the constraints imposed by the state, identify critical services which absolutely must be maintained. What experience do you bring to spend and use our taxes wisely?
I think that our biggest cost in America is health care. Next to the military, it's health care. And that's part of my expertise. Health care for the gross national profit is the biggest part of that. How do we bring that down low? Well, these services that we're offering for mental health, alcohol, drugs, and comprehensive services, it services, I think, 900,000 people here. Can that be true? That was in something I read. That doesn't sound right at all to me.
Portage County.
But anyway, however much we have, I worked on a Healthy 2010, and the public health's way of looking at this is my way of doing this. You get the audience that's interested. What are their concerns? But then what you have to do is you have to figure out what's real-time data for them to work with. So you bring that data to them, and that's what we've done with the Water Committee. Real-time data, every pharmacy company in this world knows about real-time data, and every business at this point does. They don't wait 3 years to make a decision. They wait a month to 4 months now. It's changed because of technology. And believe me, the pharmacies know what you have and where it came from and how much you cost them. So we have to think in terms of coming up to speed in whatever it takes to get real-time data. Much of the time we spent with the Groundwater Committee was not that we didn't have a county official or whatever working with us. It's that they kept going back to old data. And so finally we've pushed that new data up to the top of so that we can make decisions. We've put out maps based on those decisions. We got them to cut the history of nitrates, and nitrates in E. coli testing are the #1 things you test for to get to anything else.
Thank you. The next question, though not,
Last time?
I'm sorry.
Z is at the end.
Yes, and
All
so,
right.
you know, you've got to help me, and you did. Thank you. Jim Strike.
I would first start in our transportation side. I'll give you a little bit of background. Portage County has approximately 425 lane miles of blacktop, of which Portage County, we have to maintain that over a cycle of maybe 80 years. We have only like 3-point-some million that we allot to our highway system. Of that, we have 80+ bridges. A bridge costs approximately $500,000 now to replace. Our critical need is going to be in our aspect of applying a wheel tax. As much as people don't want to hear increased taxes, that's the only way we're going to have and maintain our current structure that we have. If Portage County continues on the pace that we are currently, there's no way you're going to be riding on a good blacktop road in another 10 years and maintain our current level of service. And that's probably everyone's main concern, is driving on dry pavement. That's #1. #2, I would certainly like to be on the ambulance contract renegotiation. I'm living in a most northerly east corner of the county, and I do realize you understand the critical need for our ambulance service. There's a lot of special interest that goes into our ambulance negotiation. It's not as simple as everybody would think it out to be. There are a lot of nuances between the city and the different entities that have their service provided to them, not only in what is disclosed as far as the cost that goes into each run. That number is not being willed to share with everybody. So it's not a piece that you can take out and say to go to your Gold Cross and have the same number come back. It doesn't work that way. It's a whole different animal because it's owned by the city and it's not private, so you're not coming up with the same amount of dollars. I want to be on that committee for the negotiation part. I know there can be tweaks with it, and I'm glad that the county went by the way of putting an ambulance into the Plover area where it is needed. A lot of you might not understand or get that.
I'm going to have to ask you to stop.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
get passionate about it.
We are going to be going now into the closing statements. And so to start that process, we're going to start this time with Ann Abbott, and that will be for 1.5 minutes.
Okay, wait a minute. I got to find it.
Of course.
Okay, thanks for considering my opinions. I welcome conversations regarding issues, whatever they are. I communicate directly with my neighbors to understand what's going on with farmers, their farms, lake owners, and all citizens. I don't just learn from the water experts or the rumors. I go to the barn, I call it, or the lake, or the county, or the DNR to ask questions. I've learned about issues from the perspective of the people in these counties. I'll make sure I understand the issue before taking a position, and I'll be fair. I have 20 years in hospitals, management at big levels as well as local levels. I'm equipped to bring that forward and apply it to this problem. We've had some success, and we are going to pass this ordinance.
Thank you. Robert Lord.
Well, thanks again for the great turnout. Basically, I have facilitated decision-making processes, large and small, all over this country. I led a strategic planning effort for the entire division of the Department of Interior. So I know how to tackle big issues. I know how to study hard. I'm a fast learner. I can deal with the complexity and the nuance of complex issues and sort through that. And I can also have those conversations with other people so that we can get on the same page. So I have those skills. I'm certified in analytic problem solving and any number of other tools that I can bring to bear. But the most important one, I think, is going to be listening. I think the conversation with the people in the district has to be ongoing. It's not just while you're running for office. I don't have any special interests, so I'm not going to be beholding to any group or organization or association. Rather, I'm going to take the issues by the merits of the issue, and help committees to make good decisions and to give the board the right kind of information so that they can make good policy.
Thank you. Jim Stroik.
To close it out, first of all, thanks, Joanne, and thank the group for having this tonight. Glad to see the large number that did stay for this forum. It's a little bit different in my regards. This is the first time ever in political office, be it school board, be it county board, and I appreciate the opinions of everyone. I'm totally committed to Portage County. I've enjoyed my service to the county. I simply have loved the people I've worked with. I've worked with an endless amount of fine teachers at the early stage of my career. And now in county board, I simply love the supervisors that you get a chance to sit and listen to and get their opinions not only on critical matters, but on family matters. And Portage County has always been close to my heart. My family has been here for a long time, and I appreciate the future that might hold for those that would come back, and that would be my goal. And I hope that I can still be a part of that. I firmly believe that I can move forward with an open mind with not only the water issue. I just think that Portage County has a lot more to offer than people give it credit. And I just think that if we have the wherewithal to be patient, it will come. And yes, government moves slowly, and I'd hope to be a part of that in the near future. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That concludes the District 25 primary Portage County Board of Supervisors Forum. Primary voting day is Tuesday, February 20th. Now stick with me for one moment, because before we show our appreciation, I'd like to say that the dates and times that this forum will be rebroadcast on TV. And we'll certainly make this public on our own League of Women Voters website so that you can check on that. But these are the days and the times, 3 of them, kind of over this weekend. February 16th, is that this weekend? No, next weekend. February 16th, Friday at 8 p.m., February 17th, Saturday at 1:30 p.m. and 9 p.m., and February 19th, Monday at 5 p.m. And so this will be on, this information about exactly which channel, if you want to check on that. I don't know that actually. 984, channel 984, and it also will be placed on YouTube, so so that you can find this and you could share it with your supporters. So now it is time. Please, let's show our appreciation to the candidates and the people. Thank you all for your attendance.